Welcome to Jeans. We are so excited to get our fourth installment of this podcast up and running today. And today we're super grateful to have Billy here with us. If you mind giving us a quick introduction, giving us your name, where you're coming from this morning, and tell us a little about yourself.
Oh, sure. My name is William Matheny. I'm a longtime Jeans regular. I lived a couple blocks away on Dewey Street for a while, and then over on Arch Street for a minute. And by a minute, I mean well over a decade. And my life was very improved by being in walking distance to Jeans.
Yeah.
Best bar in the world.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm sure a lot of people echo that same sentiment. I know myself spent a minute right across the street and made this place my second living room. So
For sure.
Yeah. Well, it's great to have you this morning. I know you had a really interesting night and trip here. If you don't mind sharing a little bit about where you're coming from and what you've been up to.
Oh, right on. Yeah, I just got off a tour. Last show was last night in Durham, North Carolina, and made it back to town at about 9 o'clock this morning or so. And judging by the sun outside, I think it's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm feeling fresh as a daisy.
Sounds like that's something that's not an uncommon experience for you.
I wish it were less common, but you play the hand you're dealt.
Yeah,
it's not easy being a rock star,
Yeah.
So I hear.
So tell us a little bit about this tour that you're on and some of the music that you've been playing and what that show was like last night.
Oh man, well last night was great. So this most recent tour that I was on, I was opening for a few different bands that I like a whole lot. Did about a week and a half opening up for Lucero, a great band from Memphis that I've been buds with for a real long time. Awesome. And then some shows with my my good pal Nolan Taylor. That was last night.
Cool.
Kind of the back half of that was with him. It's been wonderful. A lot of great crowds and meeting new people and just having a good time.
That's awesome. Well, we're stoked to have you back here in Jeans, and I think with all of our guests, what is really interesting for us and for our listeners is kind of hearing how your worlds intersect. So, Al here and you, and just curious what Jeans, where you first, encountered Jeans and what it's been like since.
Well, I met Billy when he wanted to play on my stage, and his parents carried him in and sat him on a chair, and they started playing music in here. That's how long he's played here. So.
I was
awesome.
28 when that happened.
Oh, wow. That's wild. So your parents were musicians too?
My dad is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So since I'm guessing that you've had an opportunity to play here at Jeans and make some music?
As much as I can, yeah. Al's always been incredibly wonderful about, anytime I needed a gig, he would let me on the stage if the calendar was open, and I often have friends who are kind of out booking tours for themselves, and if they needed a date in Morgantown, I would always get a hold of Al first, and he's been very gracious about and generous about having folks come over, and booked a lot of great people here. Some really really wonderful artists, Lydia Lovelace and Simon Joyner and John Paul Keith and Tyler Childers, a bunch of people. Yeah.
John R. Miller,
yeah.
Pretty much now, whenever my phone rings and it says Billy Matheny, it doesn't say William because I still know him as Billy. But,
Sure, yeah.
But I just pick it up and say, okay, sure. He hasn't even asked me anything yet because I know what's coming, and it's. I always look forward to whoever it is he's going to send here, or if he's going to come here himself. So that's great. So,
well, let me take another opportunity to say thanks, Al.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
My first encounter with Jeans is actually the cover of Owen Davis's Crack House CD. I had never been here before because I was a kid and wasn't living in town yet, but I had that album, and I knew that was Jeans on the cover.
Yeah, what a fiasco that night was.
Oh yeah?
So,
Do tell.
Well, his Crack House album, we have a couple guys sitting at the bar, and with their butt crack showing. And there was a guy
That's
here,
not what
Tom,
I thought when I heard crack house.
a guy here, Tom Dunham, who thought that we were exploiting these people by doing that, and he kept sticking his hands in front of them and all this kind of stuff. And we're trying to get some some photos of the thing, and I mean we finally had to restrain him to get him away so we could actually get a couple pictures, and then got Owen in there, pointing at him and everything, and but yeah, it was something. So, but I don't feel as though they thought they were being exploited at all. They just
comes
they
with the
want to be
territory.
part of the album, and it's
Who are the owners of the cracks on that? I've never known.
Well, I don't exactly remember, but I
Okay.
think one of them was John Barnes's cousin.
Okay.
So, and John Barnes, he's another character that's in the history of jeans. It's, many different things. He's actually in part of our book that's coming out. Jim Antonini and I wrote a book, and I told Jim stories for 39 years of being here, and Jim put them together, and John's anxious to get a copy of that book.
So I hear.
Yeah. Al, it's actually a great opportunity for us to chat a little bit about that book project and what you're working on, if you don't mind sharing with us.
About the book?
Yeah.
Well, we've been talking, for years about, you should write a book, Al. You should write a book, and it's one of those things. You know what Al ought to do? All these things, and one of them was write a book. And so Jim Antonini and I, we've been talking about it for a long time, and so we finally said, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
And so we would sit down, and I'd tell him stories, and he'd write them down. Then he'd go back and put it all together. And so we ended up with a pretty cool book. It's about 150, 160 pages of individual stories of characters that have been here over the years.
That's really cool.
And so, yeah, people, if they're looking for like a big long story or something like that, this isn't it. This is just, little
digestible and
little blurbs.
Yeah.
It's like a toilet book or something. It's got 150 pages. It's real small, and you can just sit there and read 2 or 3 characters, and then finish up and go, whatever. So.
Yeah, that's really cool.
All part of a larger story, though.
What's that?
The story of jeans.
Oh, the story of jeans. I mean, it's been here for 80 years, and this is the 80th anniversary this year, so 1944. So we're having a big Al Bonnaroo Music Fest to celebrate that. We got the book coming out. Chestnut Brew Works has made us a beer for the 80th anniversary called Jeans Old 44.
Oh, that's awesome.
Got a cool looking label with it and stuff. So I'll share that with you all later. But it's going to be good. So, but and Billy just told me that he's probably going to be in town when that's going on, and so
I'm going to try really hard. I was in town for the first Al Bonnaroo, and not to brag in case Kim Monday is listening, but I did perform in 6 bands that day, and he only was in 5. So I think we know who the clear winner is here.
No doubt.
That's fair. Yeah, well, that's really exciting. I think a lot of folks would be interested in coming to Al Bonnaroo when that comes up in a month.
It'll be a good time.
Yeah, So thinking back on your time here at Jeans, Billy, I'm curious if you have like some memories that stand out to you, whether that's performing or just being in here, kind of enjoying the atmosphere.
Oh man, both really.
Yeah.
It's I'm in bars all the time because it's where I work.
Yeah.
So it's not actually always like an atmosphere that I really actively seek out, just because it can feel a little bit like I'm just clocking into another shift.
Right.
But I didn't bring my guitar.
Right.
But Jeans is kind of an exception to that. Like, I mean, the right bars, like it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And this is definitely one of them. And I don't know, like I've always kind of really enjoyed kind of feeling like I had a sense of place here in town, and I don't know, kind of the long history of the establishment is kind of a big part of that for me. Like, I just sort of like thinking about 80 years of people drinking in the same place that I am.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what really hit me too. Is you go down the street and you walk into a McDonald's, or you walk into like a place that doesn't feel like it has that essence, right? Like that history. And the first time that I walked into here, it really felt like you were part of the story, right? Like it felt like you were part of something that's been really kind of filled with life throughout its time here. And it gives it a little bit more umph, right? It gives that experience a little bit more salt.
For sure.
Yes.
And I don't think there's like a way to you can't shortcut it.
Yeah.
Or like fake it either.
Right.
Like you just kind of almost have to like, if you're going to open a restaurant, you've just got to put some new tables in there and let them become old.
Yeah.
You can't really get pre-relic ones, I don't think.
And that's why it's so special, because
Yeah.
you can't like recreate it. You can't box it up and take it somewhere else.
Yeah, some people walk in jeans, look around and go, what the hell is it? I mean, the characters, I mean, you can pretty much name who's going to be on each bar stool,
Yeah.
every day, whatever and stuff. So, but anyway, let's talk about Billy.
Yeah.
Jeans has been around 80 years.
Yeah.
Billy's only
I've
been
been
around
around 70 years.
Yeah. So in a little bit of the research that we did, we found that you have a solo career that you're working on. You also are part of a lot of bands and ensembles. Can you tell us a little bit more about how your music has kind of you take that into different avenues and different platforms?
Oh, sure. Well, I at the present moment I'm really only like a part of a handful of things.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have my own music, and that's kind of the main thing I do, and then I play bass for my friend John Miller that Al mentioned earlier,
Right.
and then I also play guitar and keyboards in a band. Well, it's really not a band as much as it is sort of like a shadowy cabal called the Paranoid Style, but we only play like once a year.
Yeah.
And then I play in town here in my friend Mark Poole's band, the Phantom Six.
Cool.
So all of those bands have like a pretty long history kind of with Jeans too.
Yeah.
Lord knows I played here a lot. John's played here a ton. The Phantom Six, despite being like a pretty loud band for like Jeans standards, Al's even let us play there, and I don't think Grady was too upset about it.
He didn't come busting through the door in his tighty whities.
Well, the thing about Grady with volume is it really just depends on if he likes the band or not.
Yeah, it's
That's
not
really
about the
what it
volume.
comes down to. It's not about volume. It's like you can be as loud as you want as long as he digs it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't like the steel drum guy one night.
Oh,
Well, I don't know what that drum is. The one where you just kind of run your hand around it and it makes all these noises, and he was pissed. So
Wasn't his vibe. Yeah.
just go back to Florida, Grady. But and prior to that too, I've I played here a bunch with my friend Haley Slagle and my friend Brian Porterfield. Played with him here a ton over the years.
Yeah.
whatever happened to Brian Porterfield?
He's living his best life. Not playing out these days, but he's still one of my very favorite songwriters.
I did hear a rumor that he did pick up his guitar not too long ago.
He's playing around the house.
We
have confirmed
Step
that
one.
he is playing guitar around the house.
sold out shows at the house.
Absolutely, he's doing a multi-day residency at his kitchen table, playing there. But no, Brian's absolutely wonderful and a real kind of like gem of Morgantown music as far as I'm concerned.
I sang with his band a few times.
Sure did. Yeah,
Of course, I was pretty hammered when I did it. So,
I seen it.
yeah. Yeah, there was one song I messed up every time he sang it, whatever. But,
He did too, so it's all right.
it was, I don't know what the words were exactly supposed to be, but mine was, if I would die tomorrow, there'd be no me tomorrow. This is what I would sing. But that's not what the words were. So.
Man, rhyming tomorrow and tomorrow is a power move. That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they almost banned me from Gibby's singing because I just jump up on stage with a beer in my hand and start singing. So.
Really, like if I own Jeans, I wouldn't mind getting banned from Gibby's.
Yeah, I think
you'll be okay.
That's just a common Morgantown experience, right? Being banned from Gibby's. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm curious to hear a little bit more about where you come from and kind of what your ties are to maybe state Morgantown and.
Oh, so I grew up in a little town about an hour south of here called Mannington.
Oh, right on.
And I started playing music pretty young. Like I was like a kind of like early teenager, playing shows and stuff. And I was in bands that played, here in town and down there in Fairmont and Clarksburg and stuff.
Right on.
And I knew a handful of people who were pretty connected to Gene's, like Rick Ravenscroft, who played drums for Owen Davis for a really long time, was a very, very good friend of my dad's. So I guess he was kind of really my first connection to like Morgantown and to this establishment, really. Yeah. And through Rick, I met Kim Monday, who had a studio here in Morgantown. I think he had like he was the first guy to open a recording studio here, as far as I know. I think he did that in like 1970, maybe, somewhere in that zone.
Yeah.
So any of the like really kind of like great 80s college rock and like punk stuff that was coming out of here at this time, he was recording that.
Yeah.
And both Rick and Kim played with Owen, and I remember hearing Owen's music when I was maybe like 10 or 11 years old.
Yeah.
And I was really like kind of fascinated with Morgantown music at that point, because it was a place where people could like play their own songs. Because like where I grew up, like all the bars, it was just like, if you're not doing Freebird, you can get the hell out of here. Like that was really it. It was like, Skynyrd covers and Rolling Stones covers and stuff.
Have you ever done Freebird?
I don't have that kind of time. I'm a very busy man, and it's a very long song.
You're right. I'm sorry.
Play it double time.
No, I have. I've done. I was in a cover band in high school, and we did some other Skynyrd songs. The other thing that's really tough about Freebird that no one's taking into account is that song is really hard.
Yeah. Like,
it's very difficult.
Yeah.
You kind of have to have 3 guitar players to pull it off.
Right.
And not just anyone can play it. So I've yet to see anyone actually yell for it and a band do it. Mostly because a lot of people can't really do that.
Yeah, you got to plan for a Freebird call out.
I think so.
Yeah.
Which would be great. But I did, I kind of did my time sort of in the cover world and stuff. But I wanted to kind of get up to Morgantown more, because I knew that you could just do your own songs and people wouldn't give you shit about it, basically. Yeah. And like I knew, like Owen and Todd Burge and Brian Porterfield and all those guys were playing here a lot. So this was basically, as soon as I got my driver's license, I was just kind of up here every night going to open mic nights and trying to, kind of play anywhere that would give me, $20 or whatever to come do it. And then I didn't go to college. I just moved here instead and like washed dishes and stuff like that. Yeah. And played in bands. And my first apartment was like a block away over here on Dewey Street. So I started hanging out here a bunch then.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It feels at least like in Morgantown, it's a safe space for songwriters to get their music out, and and crazy to find like a lot of support for that, a lot of support for folks who are sharing their story and
totally
music.
And it almost feels like kind of nuts to think about the idea of like original music as being like a potentially like in some of these places it's almost inflammatory. Yeah. Like really, like some of those biker bars that we would play in like Clarksburg and stuff.
How dare you?
Pretty much. It's like if you're not doing like cocaine and honky tonk woman, like they're mad at you about it.
Yeah, yeah. They came to hear Freebird, man.
They did, and they're still here to hear Freebird, and no one's doing it for them.
Yeah, yeah. And you'll get that still, but I think that it's really cool that at least for me when I was in college. We started as a cover band and played all those songs as well. And then, you're a 18, 19-year-old kid and making music. It's pretty nerve-wracking to stand up on stage sometimes and share that.
For sure.
Yeah. So I'm curious for you, like if you could take us back to like what that journey was like for you stepping into that songwriting world and making music for the first time.
Well, I guess kind of going in the way back for it, like I started playing really young, and I started writing at a pretty kind of about the same time.
Okay.
But it was also it's kind of hard to describe what that was like, almost in a way, because I don't really know what like a 9-year-old has to say about the world exactly. So it's just like probably weird child ranting would be the music, I guess.
Yeah.
And then I just kept doing it, and until eventually, like anything, if you keep doing something long enough, you'll get better at it, even if it is by accident.
Right.
Which I think is what happened for me.
Yeah.
Like it's almost been just through like sheer stubbornness that like I've gotten better at doing any of this.
Yeah.
But kind of coming up here, like I said, I was coming up to like open mic nights a lot, and like playing anywhere that would have me, playing here at Jeans or, over at like Zen Clay and Suncrest, R.I.P. Su Ting. But like all these places, and just eventually I noticed that people like began to tolerate my own music, I guess is sort of like maybe the way that I would put it,
Yeah.
And then eventually it seemed like they actually liked it.
Yeah.
Which was even crazier.
Yeah. I think it's good that you pointed out, like, I think this idea of practicing and like putting stuff out there, and I think sometimes we have the perception that songwriters are just inherently gifted with this like God-given ability to tell stories and stuff, and that might be the case on one or two occasions, but oftentimes you hear a story kind of like yours where it's just bombing a lot, writing a bunch of bad stuff, or just continuing to practice and write stuff that brings about.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
I remember the like those first moments, and some of them happened here, which I guess is why I'm telling the story of like when I realized I'd found something pretty good, because like I could eventually get the bar to be quieter.
Yeah.
And like when you sort
that's an art here.
I mean, and I'm happy it is, because like I feel like a tough crowd's good for you.
Yeah.
And you've got to respect the fact that like they're not necessarily here to hear me right now. Like they're watching the game above the bar. I don't know if the cameras can. I'm pointing to the other room. There's a TV above the bar in there. They're watching the game. They're here to bullshit with their friends. Like, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Like, this is not like inherently my space right now.
Yeah.
But if you can like get someone's attention away from that, like that you've actually kind of done something pretty good.
Right.
So it's nice to have an audience that is not necessarily shooting fish in a barrel.
Yeah.
And I think, but yeah, I guess back to what you said, like you kind of need you need some time to get good at it, and you need to go out there and bomb, and you need to get better, and you need to like go home and do the autopsy after the gig about, all right, let's talk about what happened tonight.
Yeah.
I think this was good. This needs some work.
Yeah.
And then you go and you try it again tomorrow.
Right.
And I mean, I guess because we're here talking about Jeans right now, like you have to like have the good fortune to have some places that'll let you do that.
Right.
And I think about a lot of people who live in like super isolated areas, or you don't always have like a friendly neighborhood bar that's just gonna let like any goon like me get up there and play.
Yeah.
And it's good to have a space that will like let you do that.
Right. And even on the opposite end too, like major cities or major markets for music, it's just feels like the barrier to entry is so high. And so I feel like Morgantown is kind of like in this perfect, pocket of big enough to have diverse group of fans that might, really find and connect with your music, but also not so big that there's, A-class, celebrity bands coming in every single weekend. You can't find a spot. You can't find an opportunity to play.
Sure.
Well, Morgantown sits in a good spot too, because they're in between a lot of places.
Yeah.
People want to go, and so that's how I end up with some of these bands that are coming through here that would have never come here otherwise, but they just happen to look, say, oh well, Morgantown, there's a place called Jeans.
Yeah.
Let's try that. So, but and Billy's helped a lot on that. He sent a lot of people here.
Yeah.
And stuff, and we appreciate it. And
everyone has always had a wonderful time. I mean, like that's the other thing about it too, is it's like everyone that I've ever booked here, has always just come away from it like just in love with the place, in love with you, in love with the whole thing. You know, that really. I mean, like, you know how it is. It's like some of those bands, like when like if they've come through here a couple times, like they might go to 1, 2, 3 when they can start selling some more tickets,
Right.
But they still want to come by here and say hey before the show. You know.
Yeah, John R. Miller. I think you brought him here the first time and called me again about said he was coming back, and then he just started calling me. You know.
Sure.
Which
yeah.
is cool. You
yeah.
know. So, but yeah, he played here a few times. He's the most laid back guy I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's kind of a front.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
You see him behind closed doors.
I've seen behind that beard.
Oh, okay.
I know what's going on.
So what's it like? You know, you have your solo music that you're making. You have a new awakening there, and you're also part of, you said, like 5 or 6 local groups around town. Like, what are some differences there that you experience?
Well, I really try hard to like not make a difference in it in a way, like, because I think people can like. It's a sticky thing to sort of like prioritize that, and like now number one, like you shouldn't do anything that you don't like really dig. Like I'm pretty adamant about like I'm not gonna just go do this because like they might give me some money to do it, or just because like, you know, if you're gonna go play someone else's music, like they deserve to have someone who really likes their music playing it.
Right.
And like if you're gonna go play for someone, you deserve to really love the tunes and care about the people you're playing for.
Right.
So I don't truly do a whole lot. Like I know it sort of sounds like I'm playing with like a bunch of folks, and I've played with a lot of people over the years, but at the moment it's kind of pared down to just really a few things. Like, you know, just doing my own music, playing with the world's most laid back man, John Miller. And like, you know, I care deeply about his songs very, very much, and he's a really, really good friend. So like that's a project that's very close to my heart, you know, and the same thing with like Mark Poole and the Phantom Six. Like that's, you know, I love Mark dearly. I've looked up to him, you know, since I was a child, and, you know, I care so much about his music, and so it's kind of not really that different to me. Like it's all just stuff that I value.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's important. I know a lot of, you know, musicians when they start out, they'll say yes to anything and everything, right? Like,
well, you should
every gig, every opportunity, and it's
and I, Lord knows, I did years and years and years of that, and I can tell you some wild stories that come from that. But and I mean, I'm not saying everyone should do that. I know I realized I just kind of made an absolute statement there. I'm an authority on absolutely nothing, but that was my experience, and it worked for me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's a good place to be in when you have that kind of opportunity to choose and find those projects that you're super excited about. And
yeah, I mean, eventually you kind of settle into the things that really like don't feel like work at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
So where are you headed next?
So let's see. I guess as of this taping, it's currently June 2nd, right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
So. I've got some festival dates with John Miller this month, and then on the 15th of June, I don't know if this is coming out before that, but playing the Whiz Bangers Ball at
that's awesome.
The summit at the Bechdel Reserve in
Glen
Jean, yeah. And that's a festival that's all of the bands that are like managed by my good friend Ian Thornton and Kibi Gilkerson at WBM, and that's so it's like Tyler Childers, John Miller, me, Abby Hamilton, Wayne Graham, like the list kind of goes on, but it's like a 2-day thing,
right?
And that's going to be a really fun time. I'm doing the Ryman with John on the 22nd of this month. Which is a real kind of, I mean, just kind of an insane thing to say, but like I'm very, very excited about that. That'll be my second time on stage there, for which I'm just infinitely grateful. Yeah. I'm opening some shows for the Wallflowers in July in the Midwest. I'm really pumped about that. Been a big fan of those guys since I was a kid. I've got a single coming out later this month that should be out on the 21st.
Yeah. Does it have a name?
What's that?
Does it have a name?
It does, yeah. It's called I Hardly Ever Think About You.
Hey, nice.
Did you see the eyebrow raise I did with that?
Yeah, watch the video. Yeah, yeah.
All right.
That's awesome.
And then trying to get a Gene show on the books.
Al?
Anytime.
All right, cool.
That's great. Yeah, another just selfish plug for Whizbangers. That's going to be a really awesome event, and I'm super stoked because I know that there's been a lot of work on the back end to collaborate with the Boy Scouts of America and Tyler's agency there to make that happen. And I hope that that's the first of more West Virginia bigger festivals that can take place using that property down there.
Oh, it's a great spot, and it's going to be a really cool thing. There are like a lot of other like kind of non-musical things that people can do while they're down there, and like it's nice to see some festivals of that size and magnitude.
Are you Friday or Saturday?
I'm on Saturday.
Cool.
I'm playing at 4:00 as me, and then I'm playing with John at 8.
Awesome.
So I'm working a double that day.
Nice.
Yeah.
We'll be working the gate Saturday morning, so we'll make sure to swing by
great.
and
Cool.
see you. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. Awesome. Well,
let me in free.
Actually, yeah, you can volunteer. Yeah, that's how we got in. That's how we got in, man. Work the
I don't
gate.
even know where Glen Jean is. That's sad, but
It's like Fayetteville, basically.
Yeah.
yeah.
19. Yeah. Awesome. Well, before we wrap up here, is there anything else that you want to share, or Al, you have any last questions before we part ways?
Can I have a red eye?
Absolutely.
Oh, thanks. All right.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, William, thank you so much for hopping on with us and driving all the way from Durham to swing by. And
Well, strictly speaking, I just drove all the way from First Ward, but before that, I drove from Durham.
Where can we find your music and all that stuff?
Oh man, that's it on Spotify and Apple Music and Tidal and the Amazon Alexa and
And your merch?
But I got that at williammatheny.com.
right on.
And you can buy. We're talking vinyl records. We're talking compact discs.
Whoa.
We're talking shirts,
Nice.
koozies,
3X
tote
shirts?
bags,
Have any
3X. I got 4X.
What?
Yeah.
Sweet.
How's that grab you?
That's awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, right on.